Hello everybody. I wanted to show you some things to help you in creating both formal or informal assessments using Google Forms to collect data, to use that data to modify or adapt your instruction or instructional activities. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you have Equatio or Equatio added as an extension to your account. So the best way to do that is actually to do a search for it. And here's what it looks like. But do a search for it in just a regular search browser. Sometimes if you actually go to the Chrome Web Store and search for it, it's actually harder to find. Sometimes it doesn't come up right away. So if you just type in, it's probably safe for me, that response, but Equatio, Google Play Store, you see it come up right away. So you want to add that extension. You can see it's added for me already, and you should see it up here in your other extensions. Now, if you have trouble using it or seeing it in a Google form, you might want to try a couple things. Try clearing your cache. If that doesn't work, maybe I would suggest trying to ask or see if you could see it from a Chromebook. Because if you go into a Google form and you see Equatio, and here's what it looks like, it's that blue icon with the summation symbol at the beginning. If you see it from a Chromebook, that means it's probably a setting with the computer. If you don't see it from a Chromebook, which is entirely web-based, it could be a network setting or something else. So I'd reach out to your network admins. Again, maybe you have to modify a setting on your individual account or on the teacher accounts to allow you for use. So now here's a blank form I made just for the sake of this presentation. So I just titled it Test 103. Some suggestions when creating anything in Google Forms. I always make name, date, and period questions. Now, a lot of people might think those are unnecessary, and that's fine. You don't have to do that, but I like to do it for a few reasons. The first reason is I like to have students get in the habit of establishing good habits with putting their name, date, and period on everything, whether it be paper or online. But the second reason is it definitely reconfirms their identity, and this period question allows you to easily organize your data later if you'd want to. This is obviously great for confirming what data took the test, all that would show up in the timestamp. But if you go in the settings, we'll talk a little bit about those right now. Collect email addresses. For most things you do, you always want to select that. Again, that confirms the student's identity. If it's a formal assessment or a summative assessment, you want to limit that to one response. If it's a formal assessment, you do not want them to edit after submitting, but if it's informal, maybe you select that. And for most likely, you don't want them to see a summary of responses because then they get a chance to see other students' responses. So in most cases, you don't want them to see that. Maybe that's something you present on your own later. For the presentation, show progress bar. This is great to select because it gives students an idea of how they're doing and also to make sure they answered all the questions. Shuffle question order if you want. That's a great option to select. If you are worried about students looking at each other's Chromebooks, although obviously that would, in my mind, that would be a 0 automatically. But to keep the test more secure, you could shuffle question order. If you do shuffle question order, I would not number your questions. So that's up to you if you want to select it. I usually do not, but again, that's up to you, whatever works best for you in your classroom. And here's where you could have great directions, and these are beneficial because most of us, I know I do, I always say the directions before the test, for after the test, and I say it usually twice. But again, you know how some students are, and they don't hear things crystal clear, or they're focused on the assessment. So this is a great place to put the directions for what you want them to do right after the test. So maybe I have more specific directions here. These are just very general. That's a great place to put your directions for what you want them to do after they're done. Now you want to go to quizzes. You want to make this a quiz for most of your formal assessments, unless you want to grade it by hand. Or meaning that you go into the Google sheet that's created. So you definitely want to select make this a quiz. Release grade, that's up to you. Most of the time you want to select this immediately after submission, because if you don't select this, really putting a test online is pretty much substitution. By selecting this option, now it becomes augmentation, or sometimes even a modification, some people would consider, because they're getting that feedback immediately after submitting, which you usually can't do for most paper tests unless it's a very short test, and even then there's still that time period where you have to grade it and wait 10 or 15 minutes if you're really, really good at that, like most of us are. But they get the feedback instantly. So that again, makes it different than just substitution, certainly augmentation or modification, if you select that. And then if you like, they can see their missed questions using this option. I usually always have them see the point values of each question, or they could see the correct answers. So you could, again, experiment with those options to see what works best for you. Now let's talk about creating some questions. Here's one I created already. So solve the following quadratic equation by factoring, and I used the Equatio extension. Now I typed this in the extension. You could also just type your words before that, so I could say solve the following quadratic equation by factoring. And I didn't finish that, but then you would hit this button, and now you would get, or this extension, Equatio, and now you get the math type. So that's kind of what it looks like. It works a lot nicer than just typing it on your own. If we look at another one, let's say, so let's do a rational expression really quick. So simplify completely, or perform the indicated operation, simplify. So if I'm putting a rational expression in, again, I hit the Equatio feature, and in using Equatio, you see a lot of different options here. Here's the equation editor, and then here's your options. Here's all your math type, a lot of different features for it. It gives you a lot of good options. Here's all your symbols. A lot of things here, quadratic formula, matrices. You can do piecewise functions, and then some things for velocity, and then you have some integrals for calculus or pre-calc, whatever it may be. Some Greek letters and Greek symbols. So experiment with these again and use them and see what works best for you and what your needs are. It might be tough for some of the geometry things, but we'll talk about how to do that in a little bit. You could always just snip it. So let's say I do, and I'm just making one real quick. I'll do a rational expression. We'll do x squared. So I'll have to hit this symbol here. So I'm changing the exponent, and then I'll do minus 3x. Oh, and now I have to actually arrow down because I actually made that an exponent. So I'll arrow down. There we go. Minus 3x, minus 4. And the factors for that would be x minus 4, x plus 1. So maybe I'll do the denominator, if I'm creating this question, as x squared minus 16. So I'll hit insert math. And there you go. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Now, sometimes it's a little tough to see because that feature comes up. You just click on it if you want to see it better. Okay? Now, you could also use it for all your answer choices. Make sure you make each question a required question, especially for formal assessments. But I don't see, for most assessments, you want all the students to answer the question unless they'd be picking 4 or 5 on their own. But again, what's nice about using it for your answer choices is that it saves your previous response, which is really nice. So if I click on it again, you can see my previous response is saved. And that's really beneficial because a lot of times the responses, the answer choices that we make, we do want them to be common mistakes that students make. And there's a lot of times there's similarity there in our answer choices. Now, you might say, well, that's unjust or a little bit unfair. Why would we do common mistakes? But the reality is that's what they do in the Keystone exam, the SATs, so that a lot of the answer choices are the most common mistakes students would make, and we want them to show mastery of the topic. So, we do want our answer choices to be realistic and maybe common mistakes that students make. But again, it saves your previous response, so if your answer choices are very similar, you only have to change maybe certain parts of the question. So you can experiment with that. Let me get out of here. Let's say I want to add a image for an answer choice. Well, you'll have different options here. Now let's say the image I want to use is an image that was already a previous test. Well, here I have a midterm or a final exam review. Now, even though I could use it to type rational expressions, let's just say, I can't type that in for some reason. Or let's say I want to insert this graph, and there's a lot of different ways I can insert this graph. I could save it and then insert it, so I could save it as a JPEG and then insert it. Or I could actually snip it. So this would be really helpful for some of the geometry symbols that you can't use in Equatio. So let's say I go into my search from my computer and I select the snipping tool. I selected one previously, so I'll do a new snip. And let's say I want to select this graph of this piecewise function, half a circle and a line. So I will save as. And now what I did here is I actually created a folder in advance. It won't always default to this, but I think it's a really good idea to create a folder in advance for your images. So I call this midterm pics. Maybe I'll create a new folder, let's say, and call it test 1. Okay, and now when I click on that, I can save this as whatever I want. So I saved it. Now I'll go back into my Google form, and again, I like to label my answer choices A, B, and C. I could add all there. I'll try to predict my behavior, which is great. But I'll add image. Choose an image to upload. You can see all different options you have at the top. But here's test 1, piecewise, open. And there you go. That turned out pretty nice. And students could always zoom in on that if they need to. Now, some other features of Equatio that are awesome. You have a latex editor, which that would be like if you're more familiar with like a programming aspect. You could see if you're used to kind of that from the old features that they had, or old latex, doing it that way. More with the formatting, you could use that. There's a graph editor, which I believe uses Desmos, which is fantastic. So, and there's the graph of that, which is awesome. You can see the asymptote, the two asymptotes right there. Well, 3 asymptotes, excuse me, which is pretty cool for that rational expression. So there's a graph editor you could insert. It does handwriting recognition, which I don't think is extremely beneficial, but you might find it handy if you're on a tablet or something. Speech input, again, just like you do speech input for your text, it doesn't always translate directly, but that feature's there. Features for mobile, and then mask space, which is pretty cool, and a screenshot. You could actually take a screenshot, kind of like that snipping tool I just used. So a lot of features that make it easy to use and really handy for creating assessments. Sorry there, kind of didn't want to get out of that, as you can see. That's okay. So hopefully you found this video helpful for you in terms of using Google Forms and Equatio for both formal and informal assessments, whether it be summative or formative or interim. However, snapshots, however you want to do it, use it. But please let me know if you have any questions. And here's where you could preview it from a student perspective. And I only have about a minute left, so I will touch on a few things. And this view it from the student perspective is great too, to see like mistakes. So you can see like I missed an answer choice D. I did it on purpose, but you know what I mean. You can kind of preview how it looks from the student end. But responses. So this is great for looking at your data. What's great about using Google Forms, and again, this is where it's augmentation and modification, is that it gives you summary of responses in charts and circle graphs. So you can see exactly the percentage of students that selected certain types of questions, and it puts all the data in a Google Sheet, so you could organize it that way. And for confidentiality reasons, I'm not showing you the responses, but when you look at that, you could view student responses one by one, but most importantly, it gives you data on the most commonly missed questions, and again, specifically, what percentage of students or how many students selected a certain answer choice, and you can really use that to modify your instruction and change your instructional, make changes to your instruction. But hopefully you found this video helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions. Have a fantastic day.